first of the many releases this weekend was the Telugu thriller starring Anushka Shetty and R. Madhavan in lead roles titled Nishabdham or Silence, directed by Hemant Madhukar. The film's first look really intrigued audiences, believing that we are in for an interesting thriller. While there were parallels created with movies like Hush, which has been remade in Hindi cinema in the form of Khamoshi, I have to say that Nishabdham has nothing to do with both these films, other than the fact that it has a mute and deaf protagonist. The film focuses on a mysterious haunted house with a dark history and an investigation of a missing person, while exploring the various relationships and origin stories of the characters in this world created by Hemant Madhukar. The film is presented from the perspective of Maha, a crime detective coming to the bottom of the convoluted case. The more I say, it will lead to several spoilers with respect to the storyline. So let's just get into the good and bad aspects of the film so that you guys can ultimately decide whether this movie is worth your time on Amazon Prime Video or not. The good. Sound design and background music. While the music otherwise created by Gopi Sundar unnecessarily stretches the narrative of the film that will exhaust the viewer, a horrible reaction for any thriller, it is the sound design and especially the background score composed by Girish Gopalakrishnan that stand out in this otherwise lackluster film. There is a use of spooky whispers, wailing noises, a deeply melancholic cello playing in the background that builds up the tension in the scene. While these fit the tropes of what works in order to develop anxiety for the jump scare, it effectively works well in the movie. It also in moments presents the perspective of the protagonist and her senses compared to the rest of the world through sound, which is a clever technical take by the director. While I appreciated Shaniel Deo's cinematography in moments, the choppy editing of the film completely ruined the otherwise cinematic attempts at capturing points of conflict. R. Madhavan and Anushka, but I'm being kind. The film has some extremely odd performances that will not be memorable in days to come. I don't want to be rude about any of the actors because they have proven themselves in other films, but all of them just seem visibly out of place in this weird universe created. I believe it has more to do with the underwhelming written material than the capability of the actors. Irrespective, I generally like the development of the relationship between Anthony and Sakshi, played by Madhavan and Anushka. They share playful banter between each other that slowly develops into a deep fondness that stands out due to the chemistry between the two actors. But honestly, no one's going to be fondly remembering this appearance for both Madhavan and Anushka. Let's get to the nitty-gritty of it now. The bad. Predictable and slow development. The film solely functions in chronological order. It provides context for each character and situation, almost as if spoon-feeding you the story so that you can predict the big reveals from a mile away. The sad reality of the film also is that it spends so much time in developing relationships with songs of contemplation and romance that the film does everything but in the process become a jack of all trades and a master of none. For every sequence that would develop intrigue regarding the case, the creators in an amateur manner resort to flashbacks as characters go into storytelling mode. This completely disconnects the viewer through several moments in the film to care for the case, a deeply problematic issue for any thriller as the creators reach from point A to point B but waste a lot of time on the journey. Horrible dubbing and awkward performances. The most jarring quality about the film is its dubbing, which sticks out like a sore thumb. And this is especially for the case of the extras in the film, which mainly consists of Americans. The dubbing is extremely robotic and out of sync to the movement of the mouth of the characters. Several journalists are showcased presenting the news of the case, but while they are saying something visually, the dialogue seems to be completely out of sync. Shalini Pandey Sonali, for no fault of hers, plays an extremely clingy, almost annoying character whose antics will definitely give you a headache. This has more to do with the lack of character development through the writing and less to do with Shalini, but this appearance was definitely a forgettable one. It's Michael Madsen as Richard Dawkins, the cop, that pulls forth the laziest performance I have seen in recent times. While his dubbed voice completely lends a fake tone to his performance, almost seeming like someone else is only talking, it's his demeanor and body language that make it an extremely tiresome performance. He mostly lights his cigarettes and breaks furniture throughout the film, and is completely physically inept in action sequences. It actually seemed like some of Dharmendra's 90s movies, where you knew the legend couldn't get his hands dirty with the bad guys, so they just edit around the actor. Totally unconvincing, lazy, and highly forgettable is all the adjectives I can think about his performance. random editing and dispersed focus. The problem with the film is that it tries to do everything and in the process loses focus on what the film was originally about. By doing so, the film becomes this odd multi-genre film, which has horror elements initially, develops into a crime thriller, only to transition to romance with music and even adds a bit of comedy for the sake of it. Through several moments, you begin to wonder, while characters interact with one another, what's the point of this sequence? Does this develop into actually exploring the case more? The editing of the film is all over the place. A romantic song would appear, jump cut to the case revelation, and back to the romance again. The case is finally gaining some kind of shape, and it would cut to a kid complaining about being fed idlis every day. A detective gets cornered by aggressive dogs, only to casually move forward with the storyline as if nothing happened. Writing and unintentionally funny moments. It is the dialogues of the film that cause laughter amongst the viewers in the most intense sequences throughout the film. The movie in the first 5 minutes catches hold of your attention to provide you context of history, only to eventually never explore it, bumming you out because it was one of the subplots that actually interested you. The supposed experienced crime detectives handle cases in the worst way possible, often making you chuckle with embarrassment. Evidence at the scene of the crime is randomly being kicked around. A crime specialist takes evidence with her bare hands only to hand it over to a man with gloves. An interrogator says something in Telugu or Tamil, depending on which version you saw, and the Americans somehow understand and laugh together at the statement. The crime detective knows the protagonist is deaf, but shouts her name expecting her to react. She's deaf, dude. The worst of the lot, someone is murdered while tons of police officials are at the scene, and someone shouts, "Call 911! Abhi puri police force wahi hai." I have to tell you that this is sadly another acquisition by Amazon Prime Video that developed a lot of interest, looked good on paper, but sadly has disappointed in every shape and form. In the last quarter of the film, the movie transitions to an odd punk rock song with the chorus, why? My thoughts exactly about the film. And that was the video, guys. Write down in the comments below what you thought about the movie. Please don't forget to follow me on Instagram. The handle's right in front of you. Follow me at JammyPants4. Also, please support us by smashing the like button and subscribing to our channel for weekly content ahead. Thank you for watching.